My name is Abby Heffern, and I'd like to welcome you to the Wild Dog Wire, a place to dive deeper into select topics from my newsletter, The Wild Dog Write Up. If you're coming over from my newsletter, thanks for listening. And if you happen to find me outside my newsletter, you'll want to check out the latest issue of the Wild Dog Write Up to put today's conversation in context. Everything I talk about here starts in the newsletter, so I definitely recommend subscribing if you want to follow along in the future. The link to today's write-up and the link to subscribe are in the show notes. In today's write-up, I went over how the real value of running in Zone 2 is not that it's a magic zone, but that it lets you run more. I'm going to offer up two case studies to show you how the emphasis on Zone 2 changes depending on your background, needs, and goals. So, runner A is a novice. She's run a few 5Ks or 10Ks, and within a year, she'd like to work up to a marathon. She doesn't have any specific time goals, she just wants to finish. She also has two kids and works a full-time job, meaning it's going to be pretty hard for her to run more than 3 days per week. Because runner A has a busy life and is also a novice, volume is naturally going to be on the lower side. So obsessing over staying in zone 2 becomes less important. She's going to have plenty of recovery days throughout the week, so I'm not worried about her burning out if she touches some higher intensities during her 3 days of running. A really great schedule for runner A would probably be something like 2 shorter runs during the week that mix lower intensity with mid to high intensity, and a long run on the weekend that's low intensity and will prepare her body for the specific demands of a long, slow race like the marathon. I wouldn't even talk about zone 2 with runner A in the beginning, honestly. We would talk about what it feels like to run at an easy or conversational effort, which she'll need for her long runs, and what it feels like to move beyond a conversational effort into mid or high intensity. It really can be that simple. And especially for novice runners, keeping things simple in the beginning is what keeps running inviting and fun. Now, let's talk about runner B. Runner B has been running consistently for 2.5 years. He's done 3 marathons and a handful of halves and 10Ks. He's ready to try out the ultra distance, and he has a flex schedule, and he's already running 5 days per week. Since he has less off days throughout the week, and his volume is likely going to keep increasing as he works towards the ultra distance, staying at zone 2 or even zone 1 throughout the week is going to be more important for him than for runner A. He's at a higher risk of overcooking himself since he's consistently running at a higher volume. His intensity spread would likely look like 3 to 4 days of low intensity, 1 to 2 days of mid to high intensity, and he doesn't need to be fearful of the occasional drift into zone 3 during some of his easier days. He just needs to be aware that eventually that could become unsustainable. I would talk about heart rate a bit more with runner B, but my recommendation would be to run by feel and check the data after. This allows runner B to enjoy his training without becoming obsessive or fearful, but gives him a way to monitor how what he feels when he runs aligns with the intensity prescription of the session. As a coach, if I consistently saw him overreaching on his easier days, we would then have a conversation about why it's hard for him to hold back his effort and where he might be disconnecting from the honest feel of the run. I hope these two case studies helped you gain insight into the value of low intensity training and how it could be applied based on the background, goals, and needs of the individual. Of course, two case studies can't possibly sum up the entire pool of runners out there. So if you don't see yourself in runner A or in runner B, and you're left feeling like you still need more guidance on how to plan your training throughout the week, I'd love to help. There's a link in the show notes to a contact form through which we can connect. I'm happy to answer any specific questions that you have, as it also serves as inspiration to me for future discussions within the Wild Dog Write-Up and now the Wild Dog Wire. Thanks for tuning in, and I'm sending you strong legs and good vibes for the rest of your miles this week.